Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. We're in video 3 of Successful Wedding Photography Consultations series. Whew. I don't know how to abbreviate that in any way, but basically how to convert more of the meetings that you have with your prospective couples when you're a photographer. I don't think that was any shorter. Nonetheless, we're in video 3, and in video 1 and 2, I basically shared my process of everything leading up to the meeting itself, and now we're in the crucial step of the follow-up. So if you don't have a follow-up process for how you are reaching back out to prospective clients, this is for you. This is huge. And this is not only huge after you've had a meeting, whether that's over the phone or Skype or in person, but the follow-up process is really crucial in the beginning of the inquiry process when they first reach out. Because the more that you have laid out your inquiry process and templated your emails and figured out exactly how you're going to follow up with people, the more consistent you can actually be, right? If you're leaving this up to chance or however you have time in your life or how you feel, it's probably not going to always happen that after 24 hours or 3 days or 1 week, you're systematically following up with your leads. I think that the follow-up process is so huge. We have to remember, we have to get into the mindset of being a bride and planning a wedding day and how overwhelming and crazy that is. You have to think there's probably like a dozen different categories of vendors that she has to choose. She's probably talking to so many different photographers. And so what can happen is our emails, that first email where we replied, can very quickly get buried. She may not have even have opened it. So by making sure that you're following up, you can actually help to bump yourself back up into their inbox. And if they're still looking for a photographer, you're back to being top of mind. And I think so oftentimes we're a little bit hesitant to follow up because we don't want to be annoying, we don't want to be pushy. But what we have to remember is that it's not pushy to touch base again with somebody who initially reached out to you and who is in need of your services. And so I think that there's a really graceful way of following up with someone without being annoying. And so that's what we're talking about here today. So I think that if at the very least, at this point in the process, you have had your consultation, hopefully it went well. If you still really want to book this client, you think you're a really good fit, I encourage you to write 3 follow-up emails at a very minimum. The first follow-up email is going to be 24 hours after your meeting. You could send this as early as, whenever you get home or after a couple of hours of getting off of the call. But I think at the very least, you should reach out once within 24 hours to A, thank them for meeting with you and for taking the time, and B, to ask if they have any follow-up questions. This is also a really good time where I like to put in supplementary links, like if they mention that they were going to be having, a cocktail hour outside, and I wanted to show them a wedding where I did a cocktail hour outside. That's not even the best example, but you know what I'm saying. Like, if they said something specific where you could then follow up with something that is more engaging, this is your chance to do that. So as much as you can, I think it's great to have these emails kind of templated out, but I always go in and customize. So you want to customize, anything that they said that stood out to you, things that you thought were really unique about their story as a couple or their wedding day that's coming up. And I think that those are great things to mention in that first email. So thank them for their time, mention something specific, and maybe provide them with a link or something supplemental that you can share that you were really, really listening. So the second time I like to follow up with a couple is right before the deadline for their date hold. Now, I talked about this in my last video. So if you haven't seen my video of exactly what I say and the questions I ask during the actual client consultations, then definitely go back and watch that because I think that's going to give you a lot of insight. But as I wrap up a client consultation, I like to give them a date hold where I let them know no one's going to come in and steal your date for just this many days. That way there's a deadline and it feels like they're not going to feel like their date's going to get away. I want them to make the decision for the right reasons. And so I find that this works really, really beautifully. So right around the time when their date hold is up, that's another opportunity for you to email them. You could say, your 72-hour hold is, expiring tonight. I just wanted to touch base and see if you had any lingering questions or if you'd like to see a formal proposal. perfect opportunity for you to touch base, and it doesn't feel random. You have an actual reason as to why they might really want to ask some follow-up questions. I know as a potential bride, I would love that reminder to say, oh my gosh, okay, yes, if they had forgotten about the date hold, that's a really graceful reminder to say, hey, this date is about to be open again to the public. So that's a good one too. I think a week after, if I haven't heard from them at all during this time where I followed up a couple of times, the week after is going to be my final follow-up. I would let them know, I'm just reaching out one last time to make sure you don't have any lingering questions or if I can provide anything further for you. This is the perfect opportunity for you to wrap it up, say thank you, wishing you all the best. However, if they have replied to some of my other emails, that's not going to be my final follow-up. So you really have to figure out what works for you. If they're not responding, I'm not going to keep emailing them. But I do think it's absolutely crucial to attempt to keep that line of communication open, because it's very likely that they'll meet with other vendors and they'll kind of formulate more details about their wedding day. And so they might have new information that they would have to ask you, do we need 8 hours or 10 hours? Or, well, we're finding out now that we need transportation. How does that affect the wedding timeline from a photographic perspective? So by leaving that line of communication open, you're a lot more likely to talk with them and then in turn book with them. So I think that the time after the meeting is actually very critical for their decision. So you being on top of responses and getting back to them quickly is really big, but this is another opportunity for you to educate them. So if they're talking, asking questions about the timeline, if you can provide them with more service, more education in terms of timeline, do that. If you could give them, a little worksheet or let them know, how you would work with them if they did book with you and that you're going to hold their hand throughout the whole process, this is a great thing to reiterate so that they know that there's more value and that you're going to continue to be of service to them. So I think for the follow-up process not to be really overwhelming and something that's hard to even remember when you're in your everyday life, you're editing, you're doing all the things, I think you absolutely have to have a process. Now, I do all of this inside of HONEYBOOK, which is my CRM. You could do this through a spreadsheet or any other client management software or just setting reminders on your phone. But I think that the important thing here is that you have a set plan and that you have pre-written just a couple of simple follow-up emails. So if you would like to see a little bit more about my follow-up process, be sure to grab the guide that goes along with this video series. So I will put it here on the video, but I'll also link it down in the description section. It's completely free and it's gonna walk you through the steps that I take my couples through as they inquire all the way through to booking. And it also includes a little worksheet for you to take to your meetings. So if you're not sure what to ask at your meetings and you wanna make sure you get all the good information, there's a worksheet in there that's printable, that doesn't have my branding on it. It's just totally ready for you to use at your next meeting. So, bonus points, it'll make you look way more professional and prepared for the meeting as well. If you want to see a little more insight into my workflows, so the emails that I write, the automations that I set so that these things can happen on autopilot, how I send questionnaires and proposals and brochures, I'm going to link a couple videos in the description section under HONEYBOOK, and that way you'll be able to see exactly how I run my business on the back end. And I think that this really ties into what we're talking about here with proposals and meetings and consultations, because these little pieces are what set you apart when you're meeting with a prospective couple for their wedding day. I think having this stuff figured out and being quick about it and making it seamless is huge. I know that I used to send proposals, I used to just fill out a Word document and send it over, and they would have to print it out, scan it, sign it, scan it, and it was cumbersome. And truthfully, I lost clients because of this. So I think that the more seamless you can make your booking process, the more likely someone is to want to work with you because you didn't make it difficult. So I think that we can't undervalue the ease of getting this stuff set up for our clients, because they have enough on their plates, right? They have enough to figure out without having to find a printer and a scanner and figure out how to, give you their credit card over the phone. Like, that is so 2002. We have to get up to speed. And so if you want to see how I do all of this, I'm going to link a couple of links down below that share how I do this in my business. And if you want, you can try HoneyBook completely for free and even get 50% off your first year through my link, which is an affiliate link. And that does give me a little commission if you do choose to use it, which really helps me to make videos like this for you guys. So I really appreciate it when you guys use my affiliate link. So thank you guys, by the way, for that. So now that we're in video 3 of this series, we've gone through before the meeting, during the meeting, and after the meeting. What questions do you still have as it pertains to consultations and booking them and converting them and all things sales and conversions? Like, what questions do you still have? Because I'm thinking about coming around for a live Q&A. So leave me your questions or just your thoughts. Maybe you have your own tips. I would love to hear your tips. I know that we have some incredibly talented photographers watching every single week, and I know that you guys have so much to share. So if you have a really winning tip that you want to share, please do share that in the comment section below, and we'll keep the conversation going for sure. And if I get enough questions, I'll just come back and do a live Q&A to wrap the series up. Thank you so much for joining me here for this successful client consultation series. It has been so fun. Again, if you haven't grabbed the free guide, that'll be down below, along with so many links and valuable resources for you to dig into after this video. I can't wait to talk to you guys in the comments, and I will, of course, see you next week. Bye, guys.